بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله عما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا طيبا اللهم اهدي قلبي وسدد لساني واستر سخيمة قلبي آمين يا رب العالمين. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ayah number 282 of Surah Al-Baqarah, which is called also Ayat-ud Dayn. Dayn means loan. Okay, so this is the longest ayah of the Quran. And this ayah, okay, if you look at it, there's a lot of things to admire from this ayah. Is that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we will go over each and every clause of this ayah, we will realize that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken care of each and every scenario. Like, a person might think of, one thing and that is answered in the ayah, or one situation and it is answered in the ayah. And, as we are going through it, uh, um, uh, all of the people like who are listening to this ayah should take notes, because there are a lot of things, a lot of clauses that we might listen to it but we might forget. Okay, and this is very important ayah. It relates to our day-to-day lives, because there is no one that living in these times or any times, in fact, and being at the age of when a person is working and earning, or a person is engaged as an adult basically, and is not engaged in any kind of transactional relationship with another person. So this is why it is so important. Another reason why, and this is the longest ayah in the Quran again, which comes in the longest surah of the Quran, with Surah Al-Baqarah. Another reason why such detailed explanation of how to write a contract when it comes to things related to finances is mentioned. The reason why is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. Right, in Surah Al-Adiyat, meaning man loves, or human beings love money a lot. The khair, in the ayah Surah Al-Adiyat, khair is basically referred to money, meaning that for human being, when any person thinks of khair, they think of money. That's the first thing they think of. Like if they have money, then there is khair in life, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the terminology a person thinks in their mind and use that. So because the love of mal is so much, okay, al malu wal banun zinat al hayatud dunya, in Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, then children and money and wealth are the adornment of life. And if you think these two, another place in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says these two are enemies. What is the reason? One place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling these adornments and beauty and zina. They add, you have wealth, you have all these blessings, you have children, they beautify one's life. But on the other hand, they can also become a person's enemy in a sense, because people, tribes and nations, they fight over mal. It can cause a lot of fasad. Hence, because of the immense love and because of the immense facade this can cause between people, right? It can break loving relationships. And because our deen is a deen that is of unity, that is of compassion, that is of brotherhood and sisterhood. It is not the one that is divided. It's not a deen that is individualistic, right? So this is why there is so much emphasis on on writing down when things, when someone takes, when there is payment involved at a later date. To put it simply, whenever payment is involved and at a later date, writing it down is encouraged and almost obligatory to that point. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, oh those who believe, what should you do? Um, إذا تداينتم, and if you ever, when you pick up, when you contract a loan, okay, بالدين إلى أجل مسمى, for us a period. Meaning, this is not talking about a transaction that is immediate, but a transaction meaning that when someone has taken something or some payment is due and it has a time period involved. It's not immediate. What should you do? فَاكْتُبُوهُ. You should write it down. Okay? And writing down the here basically any kind of payment and there is time period involved. Writing down is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking the people to write it down. Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead. Yeah. Okay, and in another place in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, firstly, one important thing is debt. Okay, and one should avoid to be in debt in Islam. Okay, one should pay off their debt. In fact, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, like a person, the janaza would not be, and a person would not be buried until their debt was paid off. Okay, and another place in the Quran, in Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 11, Allah subhanahu says, Min ba'di wasiyatin yu'si biha aw dayn. Meaning, after the wasiyah, like meaning if when the inheritance is distributed. So when a person's inheritance is distributed, before the distribution of inheritance, all the debt needs to be paid. Okay? Biha aw dayn. After the fulfillment of any debts, then only because this ayah of Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 11, talks in detail about inheritance and inheritance laws and who deserves, how it's divided, and all these things. But before all of that, the debt needs to be paid of a person. Okay, so here, firstly, debt needs to be paid off. Okay, in any way, and if a person is unable, then the family members of that person are urged to pay off. Okay, when that person leaves this world, or if they have any kind of inheritance, the first thing that needs to be paid off is debt. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, write it down whenever there are financial dealing between people. Okay, because mal is a great fitna for people. It causes a lot of anguish between people. It can be a result of that. Okay, it can destroy relationships. One should write it down. One should write it down because in the very in the initial stages, the person goes like, no, it's okay, we're just brothers, we're sisters, I trust you. The people over trust each other, and as time passes, it sours the relationship. So hence one should write it down. Okay, faktubuhu. Okay, and waliyaktub bainakum katibun bil adl. The one who is writing it down, meaning the scribe. Okay, the scribe, the person writing it down, what that person should do is that he should write it down with adl, meaning should not take sides. So there should be a third person involved writing down the amount, or everything in detail. Okay, and again, why is this so, there is so much emphasis on this, is because writing it down, because this is a precautionary measure for protecting one's taqwa. It's a measure, it's a precautionary. Allah subhanahu knows human. He's our creator. He knows how people are. He knows the psychology of human beings. He knows what things are beloved and what, the at the extent to which, brothers and sisters and brothers, they become enemies of each other when it comes to mal. So he knows how much of it, and this, in fact, mal is a test. In Surah Al-Kahf, it's even described as a test for human beings. It's one of the test. Wealth is a test for people. Hence, these are precautionary measures to prevent one's taqwa. So there is no confusion, no hard feelings, no this thing, one thing leads to another and destroys relationship. Okay, so ajalin musamma again for so what here, what are the other scenarios? See, here it not only means that, it's in a very simplistic scenario, it can mean that, someone has taken a loan from another person and they're writing it down. Okay, but it can, in our lives, it can play down into many things. Okay, for example, and we looked at it even in the previous in our previous class, is that, for example, one has to, whenever like contracts are drafted, like for example, one makes a down payment, and again, we're not talking about interest-based payments. We've already spoken in length about riba and how this is, prohibited in Islam. Okay, but for example, like for example, someone is buying a house and they pay this, some amount now, and the rest of course, they can't pay all of it. Someone cannot pay all of it in one go, so it's divided. Every month is this much payment. Okay, so this will also come under that kind of contract that needs to be written down. Okay, and not done verbally. Okay, then we give an example of even a person has a salary, right? The employer owes the employee a month's salary, right? And it's written down of how it should be. And bil adl also includes every single detail. Okay, with justice, the scribe should write down, or contract needs to be written down with justice, meaning each and every detail. Like for example, let's say an employee. So how many hours they're going to work per week? Are they going to be paid bi-weekly or weekly? Okay, what are the, all of these things, and it is written down, right? We think of it like, a modern day Western thing. Oh, this is so amazing. We're so advanced. This is so, human rights, this and that. Look at the Quran. It tells us, more than 1400 years ago, it has given us a complete detail. With adl, meaning each and every detail needs to be written down. Another example is when the mahar payment of a woman, right? When a man has to pay, and they can be paid upfront or it can be paid later. Now, many people do not write it. This is, mahar that is muajjal, meaning that is paid later on. And, a man in years' time or in 5 years' time is paying these many $1,000s or whatever it is. Okay. But what happens is, because it's not written down, if that person dies, let's say, and he hasn't paid the mahar of the woman before his inheritance division, then mahar would be paid first, because that's a debt to the woman that he has to pay. Okay, so even these things need to, because this again can cause a lot of fasad, because when it's not written down, people take it lightly. The men's side take it lightly, and if it's and if it's the or the women is demanding something extra, and that was not what was agreed upon. So a lot of things can be avoided when things are written down. Similarly, business transactions. For example, one places an order. Okay, and in this time I will pay this much in this thing. I'll pay 50%, and then 50% when I receive the product. Maybe the product comes in two months. It's shipped. Shipments take a long time, sometimes 6 months. So this is whenever the ajali musamma, meaning any time period is involved, this in there. Sometimes people also sell things on behalf of other, and they keep their cut. So I'm going to sell this product. I'll take these products from you, and then I'll sell it for you, but I'll keep 5% cut of mine. And and then the rest money comes to you. So all of these things, these kind of transactions involved, okay? وَلْيَكْتُبْ بَيْنَكُمْ كَاتِبٌ بِالْعَدْلِ. So the scribe should maintain justice between the parties, meaning should not take sides of the debtor or the creditor, or whoever is involved. The scribe should be unbiased. Okay, and وَلَا يَأْبَى كَاتِبٌ أَن يَكْتُبَ كَمَا عَلَّمَهُ اللَّهُ. And the scribe should not refuse to write as Allah has taught them to write. Okay, and in why this a part of the ayah is there? Because there are places where literacy rate is not high, and in villages and in places, even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and even nowadays, not every country has everyone literate or can read and write. Okay, so in villages and places like that, or in towns, there might be only few people that can read and write. And because the supply is low, the demand is high. So that person is called every now and then to write this down, write this down. So because he should take this as an obligation, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them this knowledge of reading and writing, right? And it's a risk. And any believer who has this is a risk. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. This is the quality of a believer. Risk is not just money, monetary things. Risk is also one's abilities and talents. And the quality of muttaqeen, the people of taqwa, okay, are those that they spend from what Allah has given. How do you do shukr of a blessing? When Allah has blessed you with something, you spend it in the way. And even nowadays, if you look, accountants, lawyers are very, very busy, to get an appointment. And, even in hours of appointment, you have to pay a lot. They charge a lot, okay, because the demand is high for them, right? So this is why, and then the people should not refuse to do this, based on, I know I have too much on me. Whenever the time is, whenever they require it, especially, they should be, Allah subhanahu says that they should take it as their religion, almost as a religious obligation to do so. Okay, so scribe should be available to write it down. Okay, and this will also, it is not just a work, and they can charge for it. There is no harm in charging for the scribe to charge for their thing, but they should not refuse, because this is an almost an obligation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon anyone who can do so. Okay. فليكتب فليكتب, then they will write, وَلْيُمْلِ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِ الْحَقُّ, and they will write what the debtor dictates. Okay, الْحَقُّ وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ, bearing Allah in mind, meaning the one who is writing the scribe should have the taqwa of Allah. So when two people, there's contract being written, the third person, the scribe, should write it while being a muttaqi, having the taqwa of Allah. Okay, and what does it mean that they should have taqwa of Allah? وَلَا يَبْخَسْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا, they should not defraud the debt, meaning they should write down everything with clarity, not plus and minus here and there. Or, I'll write a little bit of here. Someone has more soft corner towards this person, or, this person called him, or they're being paid more to do so. And, all of these, bribe and bribery and all these things goes, the people who are involved in financial dealings, they know how easy it is to manipulate contracts, how easy it is to, here and there, add a digit here, remove a digit there. Even when people are doing their taxes and things like that in businesses, how much they defraud the system. It's so common. And we should be aware that this is actually, this is a fraud, this is deception. So we have to be very careful, even people who are accounting, things like that, to have taqwa of Allah. Because when money matters, a person only can save. Otherwise, anyone you will go who doesn't have taqwa of Allah, they will be like, this is normal in the world, everyone does it. Their excuse will be, so what, everyone does it, small digit here and there, what's a big deal? I'll just round up the number. I'll just make it this like it. I'll just make it look like this. I'll charge you less. A lot of different things here and there. So Allah subhanahu says that everything should be kept, alayhi al-haqqu, okay, وَلْيَتَّقِ اللَّهَ رَبُّهُ, and they should fear keeping Allah in their mind, and they should not reduce, يَبْخَسْ, so meaning reducing in what sense? Do not reduce the number. What is written? Do not reduce the quality. More example, someone is owing more of a, like, a better quality of an item, you just write, and, something cheaper. Let's say they owe, like, let's say silk or something like that, fabric is being there, and they write down cotton, which is cheaper, or something like that. Okay, and basically even the category or what kind of things, it's a category A, category B, whatever Allah subhanahu says, right, here, specifically, it's to write in complete detail with clarity whatever mal is being distributed. Sometimes people go like, you're buying some things, I will present it in a way that, you're as if you're buying a cheaper material. So you don't have to make that big of a payment. I'll write this down. These are all these things one should be mindful of. Exact details should be written down when it comes to the contract. فَإِنْ كَانَ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِ الْحَقُّ سَفِيهًا, and if the debtor, meaning the one who is in debt, or who has to basically make a payment, the person who owes, who has to make a payment later, who has to make the monthly payments, or who has to do any of that, okay, that person, فَإِنْ كَانَ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِ الْحَقُّ, this person on whose it's haqq, meaning the person who has to pay, okay, safihan, meaning that person's incompetent. Sometimes people are not financially literate. They could be very smart. They're just not good in finances. They're not good in dictating and taking down, giving instructions properly when it comes to, they don't understand finances that well. Okay. Or they could just be illiterate in general. And it could be that. Okay. أو ضعيفا, or they are weak. Weak in a sense, in terms of their knowledge, their intellect, or physical ability. Okay. or أو لا يستطيعوا, or they are unable to dictate, meaning that the one who is, who has some, basically who dictates the contract is the person who owes another person, who another person or other company, or another, whoever it is there, whoever they have to pay, or whatever they have to pay. Okay, so if that person is not, so one condition is if they're not competent enough, they think they're not financially wise to do that, or they're weak in some ways physically, or not intellectually that smart, or like in that way, or they are unable to dictate, meaning they're mute, they have some disability, they can't speak. Okay, or it can also be that not just speech, they don't know the language. Some people come and they do not know, let's say, English, for example, which is, of course, or another language of another country, and they just know English and don't know the local language, and they have to do a contract. Right? People travel overseas and they make these. So then what you should do, then what can they do? أن يمل هو, and then they can, أن يمل هو فليملل وليه, then they can let their guardian dictate for them بالعدل. What is guardian here refer to? It could be someone from the family. For example, in scenarios where a person is not, you think you're financially would like your sister or brother to be there with you to do so. Okay, or one's parent to do so, or some elder in the family who is very well financially literate, and you seek their help, it's allowed. They can do so. Or they can hire a lawyer to do so. The lawyer is the one dictating the terms. Okay, here, wali, it's not just family. It could be a friend, it could be a lawyer, it could be, anyone they trust. They could dictate on the clauses of the contract on their behalf. Okay, so in that, Bel, what's the shart? What is the condition on this is that it should be done with adl again. And if you notice, like the word taqwa, the word adl, like it's repeated constantly in this ayah. Okay, so bil adl, and wastashhidu shahidaini. Okay, وَاسْتَشْهِدُوا شَهِيدَيْنِ مِنْ رِجَالِكُمْ. Call upon two of your men to witness it. So when a contract is being written, then one is a scribe, two are the people that are, company or whatever, okay, organizations or whatever it is. Okay, two parties basically, right? And then one is the scribe, and then uh, who else should be present? Okay, and ideally there should be two men present. Okay, and rijal here refers to men who are, because rajul mean a man who is baligh, meaning the man who is has reached the age of maturity. Okay, and rijalukum meaning from you, among you, meaning Muslim. So he needs to be a Muslim, and he needs to be baligh, meaning that person needs to be mature. So this is the condition. But for any reason, فَإِن لَمْ يَكُونَا رَجُلَيْنِ, for some reasons, if you cannot find two men are not available to do so, then what can be done? وَامْرَأَتَانِ, then وَامْرَأَتَانِ مِمَّنْ تَرْضَوْنَ مِنَ الشُّهَدَاءِ, then one man and two women of your choice will be the witness. Okay, so firstly, one thing is of your choice, meaning you choose someone that is trustworthy and capable, not someone just you like. Here the of your choice, tardawna meaning rida, you're happy with them, but happy does not mean that you like them. Oh, I like my best friend, I'm gonna have them. The best man might be the most foolish when it comes to all of these things. No, that's not, someone you trust in terms of these matters, maybe you don't even like. It's here, likability is not in terms of your personal likability, but in terms of their trustworthiness in character and their capability. Okay, and then what is the reason for, so here, if two men are not available, then one man and two women. Okay, so what is the reason for that? Okay, we will discuss this in more detail. ترضون من الشهداء أَيْن تُضِلَّ إِحْدَاهُمَا, and if one of the women forget, فَتُذَكِّرَ, and so the other one remembers, إِحْدَاهُمَا الْأُخْرَى, so the other one reminds her. Okay, so what is the reason why it is so? If another man is not available, then why two women should come and not just one woman? Okay, and there are multiple reasons for that. Okay, so this is something that one person should ponder upon. Okay, these things. So number one is that first very important thing here is that it's not saying that in Islam, it's not saying that one gender is higher than the other. Okay, first that should be the thing. Is one important matter here is that we look at the ayat from a Western perspective, what is fed into our minds. Okay, so first look at the Quran from the lens of the creator. Okay, so first thing is that the man, no man or no woman is greater than the other, except taqwa, except the relationship with Allah, right? That defines us. But on the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَيْسَ الذَّكَرَ كَالْأُنثَى. Okay, in Surah Ali Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says a man is not like the woman. The woman is not like, they're two different genders, right? They're biologically different. Okay, so number one, in the why this is said that so two women should be present, okay, and one man. If there's not two men available, then one man and two women is number one, is because women, even in those time of the Prophet ﷺ, and even if you take nowadays, if you look up, go to any studies, more and more of men are involved in businesses than women. That's just general. Even if you look up studies now, yes, and you're in this part of the world, you might see a lot of women involved in businesses. But even you got to look at the global perspective. Even globally, more men are involved in business than women. And in Islam, this witness of a woman, okay, the a women witnessing, or two women required in a place of one man. This is only in financial matters, or in matters which are outside the house. There are matters, even at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, where one woman's witness is sufficient. For example, where something has happened, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a child was born, and then a child was born. And when a child was born, who is around? Women, right? Or who is delivering the child? Women, and they passed away, and there was a confusion, and then there was only one woman was there to give witness, to be the witness, and it was accepted. Her being the witness was accepted. So this is only in specific matters when it comes to these, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a great deal that is weightage put on the being a witness of a man and a woman. It's a great importance is placed on both of them, but depending on the scenario that they're at. Okay, then on the another thing is that so why when if a person goes in a room full, like as mentioned, that many of the business related things, you'll see a room full of men, or most are men. So it is high chances, even if a man enters a room full of women, what happens? He gets intimidated. He'll just come in, even if he's non-Muslim. He'll just walk in, he'll just step out quickly. He's like, excuse me, he'll just squeeze in and he'll like, get out. Because you feel intimidated by the other. It's not about a man and a woman. Well, we're talking about majority. Okay, here, even a man can get intimidated by a room full of women. And similar situation here, Allah subhanahu says, when it comes to business transactions, or, contracts and stuff outside, the majority, many of the times, are men in the room. So the witness, so when a man is as a witness, and then a woman is also there, the other woman is just there to support that woman. She's not there that two women will speak at the same time. So this should be very clear. If there is a man who's given his testimony, and then there is a woman who's giving her testimony, even if they're two women, the one who is called, she will give, and the other is there for support. Okay, she's not there. Now, why is that support required? Of course, intimidation, support in that sense. Also, also because of, many biological differences. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, this is, what Allah has given as a mercy and compassion for a woman, and people and the dunya and the critics, they twist and turn it. For example, something is Allah subhanahu, that's, you cannot, like, just because, what are you trying to prove to the dunya, right? For example, if there is something extremely heavy, what's in your house or in common household, who are you going to ask? Your brother, your father to lift it up. And if a woman is to do it, she'll go and ask a help of her sister. Let's pick it up together. It's such a natural, normal thing to do. And that's across the board, across the religions. That's a natural thing, right? But when it comes to these matters, we become so defensive. We become, oh, so here this is not, and there was a story shared by my teacher, for example, and there was a story shared. It was said that, there was a king, and he had a dream that he lost all his teeth. So he called, an advisor to interpret the dream. So the advisor came and he said that you lost all your teeth. It's just a story. It's just a fiction, okay? So you lost all your teeth. That means, like, or you, all of your, relatives and all of your children, everyone's gonna die before you. So the man became very upset. And then another person said, it means interpreted. He called another person and said, you know what? You're going to outlive your relatives. The man became very happy. So the point being is that it's the same thing, but it's the way you phrase it. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually ease. Allah knows that all the things that women go through, right? When it comes to childbearing and, taking care of children and all of these matters, it is a lot of, the main thing is that, and we will learn in the coming, part of the ayah, giving testimony is not an easy thing. Being a witness for something, it's an intimidating thing, even for men. When they call to be witness for something, or it's like, ooh, it's not something like someone should be happy about, or it's something, an exciting thing to do. But people become all offended and things like that. Okay, but even a man becomes so. Imagine if this burden was placed on a woman to do. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing, if need be, and there needs to be a woman, then she will have a support. And I was one other of my teachers. Okay, she was, she explained it beautifully. She said that in one of the matters, even it was in the U.S. Okay, and this was a case of it was a case of harassment. Okay, and the woman who had to testify, she was given, and in the US, I don't know if they do it here, but in the US, she was given a support, a test, a witness support. And she was like, subhanallah, this is Islam, where in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving her the support. So if she forgets or if she's intimidated, you can remind. Someone can be there just to support, You're walking alone and the majority are of another gender, so you have a support with you. You're walking, don't feel intimidated. People of, so if that is happening in this, and we are like, whoa, that is so compassionate of the law and this and that. And look at the Quran. So the main thing, our source of ilm is the Quran. And the justice of Allah is the ultimate justice. And this is all based on that. And even if you look at certain things that are not made fard on the woman, just because she has to take care of the children and all of these things in the household. Like, for example, the woman doesn't have to go in the masjid and pray 5 times. It's not for go in the masjid and pray five. She has to pray 5 times, of course, but not obligation to pray in the masjid. On the other hand, there's a strict there's a strict hukum command for a man that they needs to go to the masjid and pray. Similarly for the Jum'ah prayer. Okay, so when these things are there for the woman, also another thing, in New York Times, a long time ago, there was a study put that women, when they make decisions, the brain of the female is heavily influenced by the reasoning part of the brain is heavily influenced by emotion. And that's just how Allah SWT created women. Why? Because to give birth, to bear a child, to the role that a mother has to be a full compassion, that you go through the pain and the tiredness and sickness and still love your child. That requires a lot of emotion. So because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, so imagine, because of that emotion, if someone has to give testimony that, let's say if a murder has taken, or if you know that you saying the truth is gonna get the other person capital punishment. Someone could feel upset, whatever the person is gonna die. Yeah, but you have to speak the truth. So that's why you need another person's support to keep you firm on that. Okay, so certain things, because so of course of the biological differences, and also because of the situation that is, this is a compassion of Allah. This support is there as a compassion to give, to bring ease for the women. Okay, so this is just in general, we discuss in great lengths, is that so that there is no confusion why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this, right? And you have to look at the scenario, you have to look at the research, and I urge the sisters who have questions, especially when it comes to how things work in dunya, research yourself first. Look at how the business transactions take place. Who is the majority in that? Look at worldwide, right? Look at worldwide scenarios and what's happening. And again, many of the times, a lot of things happen based on, if it's, based on particular case. Some people ask, what if there is no man? Then what is it going to be for women? No, like there is no clarity on this. In this matter, you'll have to go, talk to the person in charge, the scholar, and the forming the whoever is a financial body or Islamic body in the community. You have to seek their advice on this matter. Okay, so ولا يأبى الشهداء إذا ما دعوا. The witness must not refuse when they're summoned. See, again, next ayah, next part of the ayah says you should not. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying the witness should not refuse? Because being a witness is not an easy thing. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He didn't say the male witness or the female witness, it is difficult for both. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying being a witness is not an easy thing, and you should not refuse when someone is called to be a witness. Okay. Um, ولا تسأموا أن ولا تسأموا أن تكتبوه صغيرة أو كبيرة إلى أجله. And you must not be against writing contracts for a fixed period, whether the sum is small or great. Meaning, when a person is writing down the contract, okay, the one who is writing down should write it again very precisely. We know how whenever we write checks, what do you write in the checks? 200 only, right? We're very precise on, we would use the word only in that, right? So for example, if the amount in the contract is 305 and someone, or 305 and 50 cents, so it's like, 50 cents is no, okay, whatever, or $5 is okay, I'll just write 300, I'll round up. No, so write it to the dot. Okay, Allah says, whether it's saghira, meaning it's a very small amount, you don't miss it out. Even if it's 50 cents, 25 cents, 95 cents, exact, write it exact thing. And when we're getting billed, when we receive our bills, it's exact to the dot. Not a cent is missed in our payments, right? So when we are writing, or we are having the contract written down, no, the scribe should not miss out any details. And all of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, and also, ila ajlihi, focus on this part, أو كبيرا ila ajlihi. Time period is important. Write the time period down, for how much time period it is going to be paid off, or whatever it is, in how many payments you got to make. Okay, ذَلِكُمْ, and this is what all of this is, أَقْسَطُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, is more just for you in the sight of Allah. Okay, this وَأَقْوَمُ لِلشُّهَدَاءِ, and more convenient to establish evidence, وَأَدْنَى أَلَّا تَرْتَابُوا, and to remove any doubts. So what is the benefit of all of this? Is that, in first, it will bring justice in the society. Okay, and justice among two people. It will be just. No one can complain, I owed this much, you didn't pay me this much, all of this, all of that things. Okay, and then more convenient in a sense that it will not cause, things will go smoothly between people. Okay, writing things down in all of the matters, in all of the ways Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, great length has been used to discuss witnesses, how it should be written, what things should be added, even small things should not be subtracted, with adl, with clarity, each and every detail should be written. The time period also is important, because sometimes what happen is things are verbally decided, and then the how and in which way a person is getting paid back is not written down. For example, someone borrows $1,000. The other person is returning $100. Then next month 50. Then next month this thing. Now the other person who is supposed to receive the $100 is getting furious. Every day this person's, every month he's giving me this, she's giving me that. And so, what is this causing? Ill feelings for another person. But beforehand, the person knew, okay, the first one I'm going to get $100 back. The next month I'm return getting $50 back. The next month I'm getting 200. Even the other person who is going to get the money back is, mutmain. That person is satisfied in that matter. Okay, so then no hard feelings, no ill feelings. Okay, so this is Allah subhanahu says doing this is aqwamu lishuhadai wa adna alla tartabu. There will be no doubts. What does doubt do? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said from the hadith of the Prophet sallam, he said, "Leave what makes you doubt for what does not make you doubt. Verily, truth brings peace of mind, and falsehood sows doubts." And what happens to doubts? Doubts create a person restlessness. Then the next step is ill feelings for the other person in your heart. The next thing is you might do riba. You might involve when you go and talk to a third person. You know what? I dealt with this person. I gave them this money, or they owe this thing, or now if it's an institution, then your credibility is at question, whatever it is, all of these things, and you start talking, giving it a scenario of two people involved, just two people and two parties involved. Then what happens? They go behind, don't trust this person, I'm not going to deal with this. So riba is happening now. That's another sin that is taking place. You're building up ill feelings when you go and meet that person. You before when someone came to ask, yeah, I trust you, I love you, all of that, it was over trust. You're my sister, like people Urdu, they say ghar ki baat. It's just a matter of the house. You don't say that you're like my sister, you're like my this, and then that sister becomes an enemy, or the brother becomes an enemy. And this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want. Hence things are, doubts ruin relationships completely. Okay, and many of relationships have been destroyed because of these. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves the relationship and the goodness, because again, our deen is a deen that encourages us to do good. Our time in this world, just like there's a time period, we in this dunya also have a time period. Instead of a person worrying and being restless and, or engaged in all of these things, when am I getting it back? You engage yourself in more positive things. When things are decided, you're relaxed, you're not restless. Okay, so in this matter, this helps a person to do better, even in terms of their deen, and in terms of their relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. إلا أن تكون تجارة. And however, what if you have a transaction تجارة حاضرة. حاضرة meaning you have an immediate transaction. You went to Facebook Marketplace, you bought something, or you went to Kijiji, you bought something, then there you paid the person, done and dusted. Okay, so this tijara is hazard, meaning it's happening right away. Okay, تديرونها بينكم, okay, among yourselves. Then there is فليس عليكم جناح ألا تكتبوها. Then there is no need for you to record it, to write it down. There is no need for that. Okay, but if this is a very important dealing, even if it's right away, if it's a big transaction happening between two people. Okay, but even if it's immediate, but it's a big deal. It's a big dealing. It's an important dealing. Then what you should do? وَأَشْهِدُوا إِذَا تَبَايَعْتُمْ. Then a person should call upon witnesses when a deal is finalized. Business deals are finalized, or big dealing is being done. Even if it's then and there, then you should have a witness present in that. It's better to have a witness. Okay, so then next party does not get up and start saying, at that time of dealing, this didn't happen. I expected. So there's third party available to witness that. Okay. Um, ولا يضار كاتب ولا شهيد, and let no harm come to the scribe or the witness. Not talking about the scribe there and the witness, the third people. What should happen with them? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, do not cause any harm to the scribe. How can person cause harm to the scribe? Scribe meaning the person who's writing down the contract. The third person, meaning you forcefully make them write something. You bribe them into writing something. You pressurize them. Maybe person is has a more power, political, whatsoever, financial. So they push and force the person who's scribing to write in a certain way, to change the contract. So a person should not do that. This is harming. Okay. And to shaheed, and to the witness, because when you're calling the witness for something, and sometimes people call them many times, they stay for the thing, they're staying for a long entire day spent, doing that. So do not keep calling them, do not keep harming them. So all of these important thing is that, because a believer is the one from whose hand and tongue, the hadith of the Prophet, whose hand and tongue another person is safe. So meaning that a person should not, the one who is a believer, automatically they will not harm, whether it's the scribe or the witness or the other party. Okay. And from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, do not cause harm or return harm, because whoever harms others, Allah will harm him. Whoever is harsh with others, Allah will be harsh with him. Okay. So don't exploit people, do not hurt people in any way. وَإِن تَفْعَلُوا فَإِنَّهُ فُسُوقٌ بِكُمْ. And if you do so, then you have gravely exceeded your limits. You become a fasiq. Your literal meaning of fasaka or fasiq is, fasaka is means that a fruit is coming, when a fruit comes out of its covering or its peel. It can't go back basically inside. Your peel cannot come back off, right? It's permanent. So this means that a person has crossed the line. When a person is out of line in this matter, then is out of the protection of Allah, out of the mercy of Allah. Okay. So if you, and especially the witness and the scribe are your helpers in the contract, and you're hurting the ones who are helping you. So this is a great thing. And again, when a person is doing the muamala, the when a person is doing some kind of dealing, they should know that this muamala is with Allah and it's not with people. Okay, wattaqullah, and fear Allah, be mindful of Allah. Again, taqwa is mentioned. So again, in this ayah, adl, taqwa, writing, these three words are mentioned constantly. So we have to pay attention to these things. Okay, and have fear of Allah. وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ اللَّهُ, and Allah is the one who teaches you. Wallahu bikulli shayin alim, and Allah over all things is perfect in His knowledge. Okay, meaning Allah is the one who has given the knowledge. Okay, and have the fear of the fear of Allah, mean consciousness of Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. What is taqwa? To be conscious that Allah is the one who is watching me. No matter I can do here and there, mix and match, do different things, swatch the numbers, do here and there, but Allah is watching me. I don't, even if the third person is not watching me, or this person is not there, or if I'm giving a wrong testimony, I'm not speaking the truth, Allah is watching me. Okay, and the fear of Allah converts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the ilm, and Allah knows. Okay, the ilm is only converted into amal, which is action, if one has fear of Allah. Person can have a lot of knowledge but not implemented if they don't care about, they don't have consciousness about Allah. Okay, so no matter how much knowledge a person has, if they have no fear of Allah in this state, then it's of no use, because they're not going to implement that knowledge. Okay, and remember that all of this knowledge is from Allah. So when a person learns this knowledge should humble a person. When learning about this ayah, this should actually make us, love Allah more, because how Allah subhanahu wants the relationship of ours and our life in this world to be easy. The main thing people think that when they become more religious or they follow the Quran, life is going to be hard. If you learn this, and two people who have imagine just two people who are dealing with this and they have understanding of this ayah, you think their relationship will be more sour or better? When both of them understand this ayah, it will be better. right? Because they know there'll be no hard feelings, there'll be more understanding. And even the ayat that were before that. What if someone cannot pay back their loan? What do you do then? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, like we previously learned, that I know I number 280 and 281, where someone cannot pay back and they're in no position, then even if you give them more mohla, meaning you give them more time to pay back, that every day that you give them extra is like as if you're doing sadaqah. And if you give it away, then it's complete sadaqah. Okay. And so here, when person has all of this in knowledge, then how can that person not excel in the dunya and of course in the akhirah? Okay, so this is very important for us. Quran makes our life easy. The deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes our life easy. Even if you ponder the fact about, one witness and two witness for female, subhanAllah, look at, how compassionate our Rabb is, how he knows the psychology of a male and a female, and how he's so compassionate based on the circumstances and the things he puts, because he already knows, imagine a woman has to go give testimony and she's young children, little children at home. That's such a woman just to step out of her house when she's little kids. People who have little kids understand how difficult that is to just get out of the house when you have little children. So when you have a support with you, that's help. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that. Okay. So inshallah, based on love, we're coming to the end of our class and our time today. But inshallah, we will end with this. Also, sisters, to learn this book, I encourage you to please be here in person, whoever is, in this vicinity. Okay, knowledge learned in person and knowledge learned while striving is unmatched. The one who strives, it's not about learning too much. It's not about gaining more. I sit there, I'll learn comfortably. Learning, it's about when you strive something, you sacrifice your time and your health. And it's cold out there, but we do a lot of things. Well, how many of us went to work today? How many of us went to school today? So we have no excuse. We cannot make the weather excuse. Who are we lying to? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. So be honest. We have to be honest to ourselves, and based on our circumstances, we're the best to judge. So, strive in the way of Allah to learn His book, because this book is the one that will make this life also easy. Of course, the hereafter will become easy, the one who follows, but this life will also become easy. And person will be, doubts, and all of this creates a lot of restlessness. Why a lot of people are anxious, and they are engaged, they unfortunately are a victim to a lot of mental health things, because of all of these things, doubts and enmity and ill feelings. And this, it goes, shaitan is biggest enemy. He creates waswasa. He wants to create arguments and fights, and rift between. Divide and rule is his, that's the greatest strategy of any enemy, right? And he's a aduwwun mubin. He's a clear enemy of ours. Okay, so we have to strive and fight our enemy with Allah's book, with the ilm that He has given us, and equip ourselves. We have to put effort on our part to learn His book, inshallah bismillah. Okay, so we will come to end. Just a few announcements. Please, sisters, please do stay. We're not ending the class right now. We do also have reflections. So on Saturday, we have brothers khatib training for all the sisters who have spouses or brothers or fathers, at home. Encourage them at Al Huda. Okay, so this is in collaboration with the MAC MSA, McMaster MSA, and Al-Fat Institute. And this is a collaboration between the Hamilton, so the Hamilton Masjid. Many of the masajid are doing this together. It's happening in different cities, but the one happening in Mississauga is happening on Saturday at Al Huda Institute from 2 to 6. This is khatib training. So any young boys also in school, in high school, they want to become a khatib for the Jummah prayer. This is a great opportunity. And if you want to be a khatib in the community, in different musallahs and stuff, so please, this is a unique and great opportunity for brothers to come out. So this has been shared in the groups. If you have any questions, email to us. And also another thing, from February, our class will be from 7 to 8 instead of 6:30 to 7:30. So we will be having from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And this is again to accommodate all of the sisters who are commuting, whether from work or from school. So just give them a little extra bit of time to be able to come in person. And hence, sisters who are unable to come because of their work should not be able to come. Okay, with this extra time, the accommodation that we have. So from February, the classes, our Wednesdays will be from 7 to 8 p.m. And lastly, also we will be having a welcome Ramadan session for brothers and sisters in the month of February. We will announce the dates and a Dawra Quran for the sisters, as we usually do in Ramadan. We'll be going through a few. Like juz of the Quran, and we will be inshallah pondering on the month. Ramadan is the month of Quran again. So inshallah we will release all of these details, exact details about this. So, and also just keep any brothers, anyone that you have, share the khair that is happening. It's at Al Huda Institute from 2 to 6 this coming Saturday, inshallah, bismillah. Anything else? Yes, and also another program that we have. So after Ramadan, after the month of Quran, that should boost us to again connect back to the Quran. We have another great opportunity. So we have a 7-week program that it will run from April to May, and this will include the Quran and the Seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so a unique program every Friday evening for the 7 weeks that we have at this location that we have, where we take the tafsir class take place. We will be having that, and we encourage brothers, and we have separate sessions for brothers and sisters. So separate rooms for brothers and sisters. So we want more and more of the sisters and brothers to register. The age is from even a few middle schools can join, and high school and above, inshallah bismillah. Okay, so before we end, we would like to hear from the lessons that we have learned from this, a very important ayah, the biggest, longest ayah of the Quran. So please share your reflections. So people on site, you can go ahead.
So just like noticing in these ayahs how there's so many little details in there, and we might not think like it applies to us in certain situations, like how you're saying like a few cents, people would say, no, it's fine, but you never know how that can come back to hurt you. So like it just shows that Allah knows best, and we should, follow as closely to the Quran and Sunnah as we can.
Yes. Yes. Hello.
So going back to what you said, like keeping everything in detail, and it's so important to have taqwa of Allah, to have that fear, to not miss these kind of little things. So again, this ayah is just like reiterating that and explaining the importance of keeping everything in detail and having those witnesses and keeping like or having taqwa of Allah.
Yes. And the one who has taqwa will take care of all of these things. Because again, the one who has taqwa, they know that their dealing is not with this particular person in front of them. Their dealing is with Allah. And again, every person has to deal with Allah on the day of judgment, whether they want to do or not. Okay. So, sisters online, you can unmute yourself and share your reflections.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
I learned like the importance of like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like He keeps on mentioning to have like taqwa, to have fear of Allah, to have conscience of Allah, because no matter how much like knowledge that we learn, or like even we're almost done Surah Baqarah, like no matter how much we learn, nothing can be taken into action. We can't even benefit from it unless we have taqwa.
Yeah. Because consciousness of Allah makes a person think, you know what? I got to bring this into action. Allah has told me I got to obey Him. Right? And Fakiha says one should never hesitate in writing down any of the transaction, even if between family and friends. It is very important, especially like our culture. We have like, no, it's okay. It's a sister thing. It's a brother thing. We're like sisters, brothers. But then things take turn very quickly, right? First, it's something commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also a wise thing to do to keep the relationship between two people healthy, right? So subhanAllah, so much wisdom in this. So anyone else would like to share? Afreen, would you like to share?
Yes. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Welcome to warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, so I learned one thing from today's tafsir class, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed the muttaqeen to spend in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's way, and basically like not cheat, and remember that everything they're spending is being, scribed. So we should always be conscious and bear that in mind, that whatever we do has a consequence. So yeah.
Yeah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Any other sisters would like to share? Okay, it's important also to take good notes. It's important because when you write it down, you retain all of these things. Okay, so inshallah, bismillah, we will come to the end of our class today. Hopefully, encourage more sisters to please be on site. Use this opportunity. It's calling, the opportunity is calling you. It's in your neighborhood, it's in your city. Take the step forward. Okay. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put more barakah and ease your way. Inshallah, bismillah. Ameen. Okay, we'll enter. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum
عليكم
assalam
السلام.
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.